Welcome to the Tea Mind. And for those of you that are new around here, I'm Erica, and this is the podcast where we pause, put the kettle on, and reconnect with what really matters. Each episode is your invitation to slow down and explore how something as simple as a cup of tea can become a gateway to mindfulness, mental fitness, and a more present way of living. We'll sip our way through practical tea routines, powerful insights, and heartfelt stories. Some weeks it's just you and me, and some weeks we'll hear from inspiring guests. But every week it's a chance to recalibrate, to pause, rebalance, and thrive. So grab your favourite mug, breathe deeply, and join me in the art of living with a tea mind. So, welcome to this week's episode of the Tea Mind. And this week I am over the moon to have my lovely guest, Kirsty Carver, the founder of Soul Water Sauna in Edinburgh, joining me. Now, you don't stumble into community. It takes a lot of time and passion. And Kirsty Carver is, I think, the epitomizes everything about that. So she's a sauna master, a wild wellness advocate, and a builder of spaces that help people reconnect with themselves and each other. For whether it's sea swimming in Portobello to launching a time bank that swapped skills instead of cash, Kirsty's creations seem to be all about slowing down and really connecting with yourself and others really deeply, and striking that balance between heat and cold and body and soul. In 2022, she opened the first Soul Water Sauna on Portobello Prom in Edinburgh, one which I know very, very well. I've spent many a lovely evening sweating in that lovely sauna, looking out of the windows that are positioned just perfectly to get that lovely sunset and skipping in and out of the sea and jumping back in the sauna. It's really, really magical. And 3 years later, the movement has grown, and in 2024, she launched a second sanctuary at Granton, Soul Water Wild Spa, with two Siberian cedar saunas. And she can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's Big Bear and Little Bear, with cold plunges made from beer stills, showers, a beach, and an amazing community hub next to it called the Hub. So, Kirsty, welcome to the podcast. I am chuffed to get this opportunity to talk to you and to find out a little bit more about your journey so far. So, let's start by taking me back to wherever your story begins.
Oh, wow. What an intro. I can't believe that I fitted all that into my life. So my love of sauna, I guess, started about 20 years ago. I found myself unexpectedly in Iceland for 3 months. And I was traveling with a chap who was 64, and 20 years ago, that was significantly older than where I am. So I started using the local leisure centre, which had an outdoor pool, and I'd been going for maybe a week or two every day, and I kept seeing people going in and out of this little side room, and I was like, "Wow, where are they going?" And they kind of always came out with a big beaming smile on their face. So I went in one day, and this lady came over, and she was kind of instinctively telling me that I needed to take off my swimming costume. And I'm like, "I'm British, don't do that type of thing." But then I went in and I just had a towel wrapped around me, and instantly I kind of was found myself in this community. Everybody started talking, and I I developed a lot of easy friendships, and it felt like the barriers had gone. It didn't matter that I didn't speak their language. Um, and the whole time I was in Iceland, I saunaed quite a lot. It was just a leisure centre sauna, but that was my first experience of sauna, and that gave me, um, I guess, the sense that saunas aren't just a space where you go after the gym. It definitely felt like something. It was a ritual for the people that were going. It was definitely, they went for the community. They didn't go for the wellness side of it. That was almost like, a side effect. So for me, that was really lovely. And then fast forward 15 years, well, 10 years certainly, moved up to Edinburgh. Um, and started sea swimming. And I've been swimming for a couple of years. And one of my friends invited me to go to the Highland Swim Gathering, which was a weekend event up near Aviemore. And I'd not saunaed in this whole time period, but I'd been sea swimming, and that kind of the moment when you go into the water and you feel the water over your shoulders, you kind of like, oh, I'm really in this. And there's nothing else that you can think about when you're in that really cold moment. Um, and then when we did the Highland Gathering, it was at Inchrow Estate, and they had a horsebox sauna at the estate. But on the evening, we were dipping in and out of the spa and going into the sauna, and then into this like it was a hot tub that was actually built on an old farm trailer. It was very rustic but amazing. Chap called Walter built that, and going into the sauna and the hot tub there just really reminded me of that kind of the community aspect of the heat, and the transition between hot and cold and how good it makes you feel. And I was like, actually, like this is what I need, and this is what Portobello needs. And in the interim of this, when I first moved to Edinburgh, I'd actually started Portobello Time Bank. So I'm going to rewind a little bit here. Um, so a time bank is a organization where everybody's time is worth the same. So, for example, I used to be a hairdresser many, many moons ago. So I could cut someone's hair. If it took me an hour, they would pay me in time credits, an hour's time credit, and then I can go and use that time credit elsewhere within the time bank community. So I might get somebody to come trim my lawn, or I could get someone to walk my dog. And the benefit of this is that everybody's time's worth the same. There's no hierarchy, and it really breaks down a lot of barriers when it comes to the community because there's no, there's no demographic rules anymore. You can exchange with somebody who is 64 or somebody who is 16, and someone who is a lawyer or somebody who maybe doesn't have a job or has never worked. So that was kind of what I was doing at the time when I started sea swimming. And then when I kind of tapped into this idea of sauna, I was thinking, actually, this is community building. This is going back to the time bank. And if I was to do this, this is maybe something that can all link in together. So that was the initial idea. Spoke to a few friends and they're like, oh, I like the idea, but I don't know if it's going to be particularly successful. I don't know how many people are going to want to do this. And so I kind of came home after the weekend and did a little bit of research. And at the time, there was only a handful, or maybe I could certainly count on both of my hands how many wild saunas there were in the UK. So I spoke to a couple of the leaders in the industry. So Liz Watson and Katie Brasher, who opened up the Beach Box Spa down in Brighton. Spoke to them and a couple of others, and they were really enthusiastic about somebody else starting because there was not many of them out there. Um, and so I just went for it. And it felt a little bit, it felt very out of my comfort zone. I'd never ran my own business before, which has been a huge learning curve. Um, but yeah, it happened a bit organically in a way. It just felt like the right thing to do. And when I started Portobello, the idea of it was just that it was going to be something that I did on a weekend. Maybe I would employ one person. Um, and it just grew into this amazing community really, really quickly, of people that were coming every week and or even more than once a week. And everybody wanted to come and work for me because it was such a nice place to be. And your office is on the prom. Even if it's raining, it doesn't really matter because you're in and out of the sauna, you're making people happy, you just like absorb that kind of amazing glow, I guess, of people that are coming and having a nice time. Yeah. Sorry, that was a
Wow.
really long answer.
That's just, yeah, it's incredible. So let me get this right then. So you started life as a hairdresser,
Yeah, finished school. Well, I'd finished my training before I'd left school as a hairdresser.
and how did you end up in Iceland for 3 months?
I decided, I was training for a bit, and then I worked in an artist space making sculptures for TV and props, and we did life casting. And then I was like, actually, I want to go traveling, and I didn't have any money to go traveling. Hairdressing and artist salaries are very low, and I decided that if I wanted to go away, I needed to get some experience. So I did a 3-day sailing course. Um, Never been on a boat in my life before. And then after achieving my um, sailing qualification, I put an advert on a website saying that I was looking for experience. And I had one reply, and it was from a guy called Walter 12 Jackson, American chap. And he wanted to go sailing around the world on a boat that he'd made himself. And he just wanted somebody to go with him and help cook and clean. And he was happy to pay for my way as I went. And I can remember telling my mum, I was like, I was 20 at the time, and I was like, Mum, I've met a 64-year-old on the internet and I'm going to go sailing around the world. And it was a little bit like a lead brick, but she came down and met him. We went to meet him, and yeah, we were off within a month. So when we were in on our way to Iceland, we were actually in Svalbard, and we were supposed to be sailing to Greenland, but the engine broke down when we were on our way, so we decided to sail into Iceland. And when we were there, they had to take the boat, like the deck of the boat, off to bring the engine out, and it was quite a big repair. So that's why we were there for 3 months.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And it's quite unusual to have sort of bravery at that age to just first of all to have the gumption to put up that advert and second of all to jump on a boat with another
I've,
man, a man called Walter. It seems to be a common theme throughout your life. Lots of
yeah,
Walters.
yeah, that's true. That's true. I think it's something about being of that age where you don't really think about the risks.
Hmm.
Also, I don't really think I realized the magnitude of the opportunity because, you know, I don't know anybody else who's had that kind of, oh, why don't you just join me on this boat and let's go sailing around the world? Like, it's a really unique experience to be able to even pay your way into, let alone be paid to do. Um, so yeah, I don't think I appreciated it fully until I was probably home for a good few years and then looked back and realized like actually that was an amazing experience. And I think the difference between going traveling and doing what I did, you're seeing life from where you're really in the community. So you go and you stay and you're staying with the other people that are often fishermen or, working in the dock area. So you're kind of really into the community. And that was quite another thing for me. I think community is just like such a deep thing for me, and experiencing how other communities are, and being able to do that when I was away sailing was really, really lucky to do that.
Why do you think community is so fundamental to you and to everything that you've done in life?
Um, Good question. Um, I think I think it's part of like it's a support network, and I think that as individuals, we've always had a need to be within a community, because if you don't have a community, you're battling everything all by yourself, and that's not how humans have evolved. We've evolved to be hunters in packs or from hunters in packs. And um, that kind of like, I don't know whether it's a safety in numbers thing or whether it's like I think there's probably that, but there's also like the being inspired by other people and people lifting each other up. And everybody has peaks and troughs of happiness and energy. And I think if you can share that with a community, it brings everybody up, or you can support other people. Um, and it's an experience thing. You learn so much from being in a community and being around others, and particularly of people of different ages. I think that was something that I found within the time bank, and also working with Walt. you wouldn't necessarily hang out with somebody who's 40 years your senior, or more than that at the time. But actually, what you learn from those people is such a bigger kind of outlook than you would ever get from your peers.
Yeah,
And it's not to say that peer relationships aren't important, they totally are, but I just think it's really interesting to have more of a kind of like a wider range of people that inspire and yeah, to share with.
exactly. Yeah, and it's creating spaces like that and a natural environment is the sauna. And when I think
Mm,
back to sort of conversations that I've had with people that I'd never have normally crossed paths with before, I was in a sauna a few weeks ago actually,
mhm.
and I got chatting to a lovely woman who turns out she was 80 something. She didn't look it, she looked amazing. And
Oh,
she'd had the most wonderful life traveling all over the world. And I just learned so much from her and from her life experiences. And I was absolutely about to faint because we'd chatted so long. I was still in the sauna, but her life was so interesting and she had so many nuggets of wisdom to share.
mm,
And then, yeah, she got chatting to my daughters as well, and they learned so much from her. So just these little conversations that you have, I think, are so, so
yeah.
important. Yeah,
And I think that's one of the really special things about sauna. Like you say, you would never have maybe met, or even if you were to bump into her in the street, you wouldn't have had that type of intimate conversation
yeah.
all the time because you would be passing
Mhm.
ships and it would be that and the brevity of that kind of interaction would be gone. Whereas, you're in a sauna, you're in a safe place, everybody's relaxed, there's no hierarchy, and you can have that really open conversation that is just allowed to unfold with no pressure. No, there's no time pressure, but there's also no pressure for that individual to open up or or say anything that they don't want to. But actually, it's so nice to share your experiences when you're with other people that are interested and open to hearing what's happening with you or what's happened in the past. And I
Yeah.
think yeah, it's just such a beautiful thing that happens in the sauna really, really naturally.
Yeah, and I think with wild swimming as well, that's such a fundamental aspect of it and
Hmm.
building the sauna element onto it because I know I used to live in Portobello until last year, as you know, and the wild swimming there is just incredible because there's no hierarchy, as you see, we're all in swimming costumes and trying to get changed in freezing cold weather, and everyone's sharing cups of tea and whatever over a little fire. And now with your amazing sauna, it just takes it to a next level. So yeah,
I think I think
yeah,
there's something definitely about kind of body positivity that affected me when I started wild swimming, and has grown even more with being in the sauna. You quickly realize that actually nobody's looking, nobody's comparing. And when you're in the sauna, you're not analyzing what other people look like, but there's a comfort in being in a space where a body is a body and there's no comparison. It's like you're looking at the people as a person, the body is just the vessel of the conversation and the moment that you're sharing with another individual. Um, and you soon kind of forget how you're sitting. For example, if I was at the swimming pool, I think I would be very I'd be very aware of, sitting slumped over and my folds on my skin on my stomach. Whereas, in the sauna, it just disappears. That kind of it's not really the care of it, but it's almost like it's just not part of the thought process of being in the sauna. It's like you've molded into the shape that you need to be in, and everybody's in the same space.
yeah,
It's very kind of embodied, I guess, in that way.
yeah. It's such a lovely way to put it, and yeah, I think you really bring that presence into it. Like you get out of your head almost and stop worrying about what people are thinking because they're not looking at you. They couldn't care less.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you started talking first of all about your first sauna experience in Iceland, it really something totally forgotten about. But when I first traveled to Japan when I was about 2021, they have obviously Japanese spas there which are extremely like very different. And you go in, you have to be completely naked and you get a little bucket of water and you wash yourself and pour it over you. And there's amazing rituals that go with it. And the first time I did it, I was so nervous. I was on my own and I was so self-conscious and nervous about going into this space, knowing that I'd have to go in without even a swimming costume on.
Hmm.
But I just got in there and it was men and women, they were sort of separated. And the women were just so helpful and so friendly, even though we didn't have a common language. They showed me what to do and pointed me to the right places. And it
Yeah.
was, yes, I just remember that. I immediately, the heat hit me and I just relaxed and I followed what everyone else was doing. And it was wonderful.
Hmm.
And I've had many more experiences in Japan over the years. So yeah, there's really something about that sauna community aspect of it. It's yeah, it's
I
life
think it's
changing.
such a deep thing that it's so primal, and our country have had saunas since the Bronze Age. Like sauna has been here ever since we have, and there's evidence of they call them burnt mounds or sweat houses, and they're all over the country. There's loads in the borders. There's loads all over Scotland, and only 3% of them have been um, investigated to any extent. And right back to the Bronze Age, these burnt mounds have been used as cooking, as cleaning bodies, but also as a space to go and sit and just relax. People like in the early like kind of 1900s, people used to go into these burnt mounds and they used to put a cabbage leaf on their head to keep their head cool, like we wear sauna hats. And it was done for something that would help with rheumatism and it would help with relaxing and they would do it after a busy day farming. This is something that is so primal, but has followed all the way through, and it's kind of been washed out of our culture and brought in so many times. But I think when you went to Japan and had that experience, and when I went to Iceland, like maybe this is like a internal memory that is buried really, really deep. And
Hmm.
when we get into that space, it's there. You can feel it. That kind of the ritual of it is something that we're supposed to do. It's supposed to be part of our culture. And
Amazing.
whenever I think I've got goosebumps now, I just think it's something that has been lost so many times and it's so precious. And it's that kind of communal embodiment of being.
Yeah. And if
Yeah.
ever there was a time to lean into it,
Yeah.
now it is.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's part of, after COVID, and I know that, a lot of people use that term pre-COVID, but I think touch has been so missing, like physical touch, being close to people. And I think that for now, you're in a space and you're allowed to sit. We've always been allowed to sit, but doing it now, people feel like they need permission to be close to other people, particularly when they're not wearing much clothing, in a relaxed way. And the saunas and the spaces similar to sauna kind of open up that kind of channel, I guess, for touch and physical contact to be an everyday thing that's not something to be scared of or nervous about because you can just get into an onsen in Japan or a sauna in the UK and have that moment of, you know, closeness and intimacy without it being anything other than a beautiful moment in the sauna. There's no, you know, and I think just going to touch briefly here on the idea of when I first wanted to open a sauna in Edinburgh. a lot of people were like, "Oh, are you?" Um, and I think, there was a lot of people thinking about, the sex work side of sauna.
Mm.
And I think it's really important that we need to use the word sauna in conversations about, you know, sauna, where we pour water onto the rocks to create the steam, which is a true sauna. You know, we need to reclaim that word. It's a sauna is what we do. And there's no sexual part of it at all. There's no intimacy in that way, but there's intimacy in being sat next to somebody who you can be raw and open with. And it's that level of intimacy that I think is just so beautiful in a sauna space and so easy to achieve. Um, you know, I sauna with my kids, particularly my older two boys, and we have conversations in the sauna that we would never be able to have um, anywhere else. Or maybe similar, I guess, you're driving along in the car and the kid's in the back and you're not looking at them and they might say something that they like open up and that you would never get if you were looking across the dinner table to each other. So you get a level of conversation and a level of intimacy in that space, which is really unique, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I have to, the sex sauna idea of thing never even crossed my mind until you mentioned it there, but I can I can see where you
Yeah,
had some
yeah.
issues when you were starting out. What other things, challenges did you have when you first started the sauna?
Um, I guess looking for a space to be was one of the things, those early days conversations with the council and them not understanding what it was that I was trying to offer, and thinking that it was going to be, you know, queues along the prom and people drinking alcohol late into the evening and a party place, which is most definitely none of those things. Um, Logistics, I think, is something that I didn't really think about, like the idea of me offering tea was something that I really wanted to do. I came to you when, we opened just before Christmas. And I was like, I really want to be able to give people a hot drink. Um, because that makes people in like it helps people arrive in the space if we can give them a cup of tea at the beginning of the session so they're not feeling like they're quickly whipping their clothes off and just jumping straight into the sauna, or if they have a cup of tea at the end, it adds like a buffer on between um the sauna time and the rest of the day. It's like they don't have to feel like they need to rush straight off. They can kind of like acclimatize and ground again into the real world, if you like. Um, so the logistics of managing how to get hot water and things like that was a difficult thing. Um, and then I think the adjustment of going from a mum of three young kids and a stay-at-home mum with three young kids to then being a mum with a business, and that was a big change for our family. A big adjustment, particularly for my husband, who, you know, I'd always just been at home, the one sorting everything out and doing the dinner and looking after the handyman, well, being the handyman woman, just juggling all of that mother load, I guess,
Hmm.
to then us having to share that, which I think, yeah, that was a big adjustment for us and still remains to be an adjustment because the business is still growing. We've launched the second space at Granton, which is much bigger. We've got two saunas there. We've got two members of staff on at any one time, four members of staff every day. Um, so staff, from me thinking, oh, I might take one person on in Portobello, I've now got just under 30 people working with us.
30. Wow.
Yeah, I know it's crazy, and it is crazy, but it's so amazing. Like the people who we've ended up with that are such an amazing team. Everybody's got their own amazing skills that they bring to the sauna. I've got people that study um sound healing. I've got three actors. I've got um you know to forest school leaders, sorry, also have a small child in the background. Yeah, and you know, everybody is open to bringing all of their skills into what it is that we do, which is great. It's so exciting.
So tell me more about how you do juggle being a mum of three and running a business and employing 30 people and doing everything else that you do.
Yeah, so it's not always easy. Especially when unexpected things happen, like if they're not well. Um, but yeah, like community again goes back to that. And I feel lucky that when I had Charlie, who's my eldest, um, I made a really good set of friends that are around quite a bit and that can help out if something does happen. Um, but yeah, also having a good team of people that work with me. So, and that's growing more in the kind of like the support side of things now. So it has felt like I'm kind of quite, the business has been really linear. So there's been me and then everybody else. And I'm trying to move away from that, even though I think when I first opened, or when we first started to grow, that idea felt really nice to me to not have any hierarchy, and everybody would just be the same level, and everybody would be, mucking in on the deep clean. I go down do the deep cleans and things, and I just think that as we grow as a business, it's maybe not realistic to for that to be. So just to accept that, there has to be some levels of more responsibility for some people and because otherwise I just end up spreading myself too thinly. So we're just working through building different job roles at the moment, which feels so grown up. Like I did not think that this was going to be something that I would ever be doing, thinking about contracts and pensions and all, yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of juggling. Thankfully, my husband James, he kind of helps out quite a lot with salaries and payments and well, not payments, that's more my kind of side, but yeah, he helps that out a lot with like HMRC and tax bills and which still baffles me. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, there is a lot to running a business.
there is, yeah. And
And
a lot of it, yeah.
where do you find support for that and how have you gone about learning and finding out how to do everything?
Um, on the foot, on the fly. Like, I think there's a lot of businesses out there, I think, that would have been really useful for me to tap into. Quite a few people have said about Business Gateway. Um, but because all happened so quickly and it's grown so quickly, it's just happened organically. And I think that has probably, caused me to go the long way around sometimes, but also it's just it's almost felt like I have to do that out of necessity. I think that's maybe part of, my lack of experience as a business owner. Um, just feeling like I have to own everything and I have to do everything. So I think, yeah, there's definitely places that I should have used that I haven't. Yeah,
But yeah, like you say, it's timing and it's finding access to things like that. We were
yeah,
talking earlier as well about Women's Enterprise Scotland, and they've just launched this new report calling for a women's business centre so that
mm,
everything's in one place and we can build support and peer groups, networks, mentors, that side of things. So, like
yeah,
funding, for example, investment. I mean, it's like a minefield and it changes all the time. It's yeah, it's like a moving feast and a mirage that you can never quite get to. So yeah,
yeah,
having sort of resources like that in one place and specifically tailored to women that do have we have, as you can see, different needs. We have to juggle a lot of different things. So
yeah.
yeah, I think
I definitely think, you just mentioned have like mentors. I think that would be so valuable. Um, particularly to me, having never ran a business before, um, and also having like a 10-year gap in working to coming back into the space of work.
yeah,
And in that 10 years, so much has changed. In how people access information, obviously the AI is fairly recent, but you know, the world has entirely changed. Not just that, but my what I'm doing in life has entirely changed. Like pre doing this, I had 10 years with the kids. And before that, I was working in kind of event management and branding. And it that feels like that like even that business has totally changed in the last 10 years. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of like that catch up. I feel like there's a huge um void, if you like, in my knowledge of how that's developed, but also um, getting my head back into that space of working in a efficient way since being a mum and juggling all of the other things that that happen in that, and and also you know looking after my parents, and because they're in or there's a little bit of that happening, starting to happen in life as well. So it's just there's a lot of things that we're juggling, um, and bringing that back into how that works with work. Yeah, mentor would be great. Any offers out there?
Yeah, I'll have one
Yeah,
as well, please. Thank you.
yeah,
It would be
yeah,
great. Yeah, and it should be a no-brainer because I think the statistics show that with the right support like that, our businesses could be growing so much faster and doing so much more for the Scottish economy. So yeah, it's a no-brainer really. If
yeah,
anyone's in power that's listening, help us
yeah.
take action, move it forward. But yeah, the juggle from whether it's people you're caring for, older people, and often it's both at the same time and
Mhm.
everything else in between. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm curious, what do you do apart from sauna on a sort of regular basis to help look after yourself and to help you rebalance?
So I still swim fairly regularly. And often for me, it's just being in nature,
Mm.
So the other week I was really busy. I was down at running an event and doing, all of the staffing at the same time. And then one of the hosts said, "Oh, I'd really like to buy some whisks." So it's like sauna whisks that we use fairly regularly. It was her birthday coming up, and she's like, "I'd really like to buy some whisks so I can use them for my birthday." And I said, "Well, actually, let's just go and make some." And we just sat. We were in the centre of town, so we walked down to the meadows, pruned some lime trees, and sat. I mean, I never go anywhere without my secateurs and my string. So we just sat on the meadows making sauna whisks, and we had some lime and some red oak, and just doing that, it was probably 45 minutes, but it just totally grounds me, because you're outside, you've got blue space, you're playing with plants, but it's such a mindful practice.
Hmm.
There's method in doing it. You've got to focus on it. You can't be thinking about the to-do list and the shopping and the kids' birthday parties at the same time. And and also for me, it was really nice because I was imparting knowledge. So Ula, that I was making these whisks with, she'd never made them before, so it was really nice. Like that for me, that fills my cup. Kind of spending time with nature and looking at, I guess, the bigger picture.
Yeah, oh, that ticks every box, doesn't it? And
Yeah,
you're really in your flow as well. So
yeah,
in the moment, not thinking about all your to-do lists and everything
yeah,
else.
yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
tell me more I'm really curious about all the other like sauna rituals that you do, because I know I've been where you've had, I'll let you describe it because I'll probably say the wrong thing.
So sauna rituals are really varied, and they can be really simple. So I've just spent some time with um, the Sauna Heritage Centre in Finland, and one of the things or the most important thing that I learned from their training was that slow down. It's not all about adding everything to every session. It's about pouring water onto the rocks. Maybe it's scented water, and it's about listening to the moment that the ritual itself is listening to the water as it hits the rocks. It's listening to the steam as it rises, or the lulu. It's about tasting the steam if there's any scent in there. It's about feeling the heat on your skin, um, noticing the sweat maybe trickle down your body. So that is as much of a ritual as bringing a tool into the sauna and using the tools. And the tools might be anything from a bowl of salt that has got either herbs or essential oils into it, and you can pour the salt, and it's about releasing the aroma that's in the essential oils or mixed in with the salt into the space. And it's really good for your airways. It's got lots of different benefits, and obviously different essential oils can be mixed that also have lots of different benefits. So that's one tool. Another tool would be the whisks or the Vita Vasta, depending what culture you're looking at, and which is basically a bundle of twigs with lots of leaves on. And the most traditional would be birch whisks. Birch because the leaf of birch has got lots of natural saponins in, which is a syrup. So if you whisk, if you kind of squish your birch whisks into water, you actually get lots of bubbles. And they would have been traditionally used like we would use a sponge with soap onto the body, straight onto the body in the sauna, and that would have been used as a cleaning agent. And that's why there's evidence of birch whisks around these sweat lodges that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
You know, that's why they know that they were sweat lodges because there was bundles of whisks, which is amazing to think that
Incredible.
that has been the ritual for that long.
Mm.
I think now we use them more. We do use them as a cleaning agent still, but we use them to manipulate the steam in the room. So we pour water onto the rocks, and the steam comes up through the leaves, which brings all of the beautiful essential oils in the leaves into the space, and people have that kind of nature awareness, and they feel like they're in the forest. That you move the steam around, you might shake the leaves a little bit, so it sounds like there's wind traveling through the leaves, and before it even touches you, feels amazing. You know, you're experiencing the sound and the scent of that, and then when you bring the leaves down onto the body and you start manipulating the steam down onto the skin, it's almost like a extension of your hands giving a thermal massage, like a tree giving you a massage in the sauna. But I'm going into this like
Oh.
ethereal place now. Um, and then there's a more kind of modern thing is like a German Aufguss, which is actually Aufguss means infusion. And there's lots of different types of Aufguss. There's something called show Aufguss, which is bright lights and music, and it's quite intense. And it's telling a story, or the traditional Aufguss. But the word Aufguss is you have the the most well-known experience of Aufguss. You have a ball of packed snow or ice, and you put essential oils on the top of the ice ball, and you put that ice ball onto the stove. So slowly, as the ice melts at the bottom, the vapor rises up through the ice ball, and all of the essential oils get comes out through into the space. So it's a really gentle way of scenting the room. And you can use a towel to move that steam around the room, and you can be quite directive. So individual people, you can get individuals really hot, or you can bring cold air up from the base of the room, depending on how different people are reacting to the heat. Um, and it can be really beautiful. It generally is a really beautiful thing to watch. A lot of people who are Aufguss masters are dancers, or they might have some theatre background, and you can see that the flow of the towel is almost like a dance. It's very choreographed, or it can be very choreographed. So that's the type of ritual. We do sound bath in the sauna. So we've got people that work with sound, and they come and they maybe do a little opening ritual where it's very mindful, bit of breath work, thinking about checking in with all of your body points and then moving around into perhaps using crystal bowls or koshi in the sauna, which I think that is a more modern way of working in the sauna, but it's also finding Scottish sauna culture. So the Aufguss is German, the playing with the leaves is more kind of like Baltic or Finnish, and then where is sauna culture in the UK? Where like we're finding our feet of what sauna culture is at the moment and maybe introducing things like sound bath or perhaps singing in the sauna. Although I think singing in the sauna has definitely happened for many, many years. But our own folk songs, bringing our own stories,
Mm.
um, into the sauna space and making that part of the Scottish sauna scene. I think it's a really exciting time to be in this kind of space because it's so new and it's really quickly developing. So I think yeah, developing our own rituals and our own culture is quite an exciting
Yeah.
place to
That's
yeah.
so, I just feel so calm listening to you talk about those rituals, and there's so many similarities with hosting a tea circle or a tea meditation as well,
Mhm.
where you are paying attention to the kettle boiling, the steam rising. You're
Yeah.
doing one thing at a time and really focusing on it and slowing down, and less is
Mhm.
more.
Yeah.
And then we sort of bring the whole connection and community to it as well. So lots of similarities there, and really interesting to hear about trying to find out what Scottish sauna culture is as well, because that's something that I'm sort of looking at with tea as well, because obviously
Yeah.
lots of tea comes from all over the world, China,
Yeah.
India, Japan. We have some amazing tea grown in Scotland as well, but lots of it's from everywhere. And I take different bits from different cultures as well, like you do with sauna.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's sort of seeing what we can
Yeah.
do to make Scottish tea culture new and exciting and something that will last for the future. So yeah,
Yeah.
just hearing lots of parallels and similarities as you're describing that.
Yeah, and I don't think that in itself is something new either. Like you Aufguss, or and I'm not quite sure whether this is true history, but I think it's definitely a belief that a lot of people who I know have talked about. Aufguss came around because in the war, when Germany traveled throughout Europe, they saw these saunas and thought, oh, this is quite amazing, and we want some of this. And they didn't realize they didn't have the technology to get the room as hot as they would have had it in, Lithuania. So when they took the idea of sauna back to Germany, they needed a way to bring the heat down to the people because they didn't have the airflow, they didn't have the massive rock that they would have had in a traditional sauna. So that's why they used the sauna towel to bring it down. So, and I don't know whether that's true, but that's a kind of evidence of that bringing other cultural learning into your space and making it your own.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that, yeah, it's been happening for thousands of years, as long as people have traveled. And, that's, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a cultural mis what's the word?
Yeah.
It's
Appropriation.
not cultural appropriation because
Yeah.
as long as we look at that, we look at our learnings and acknowledge where we found that from, and then talk openly about how we have developed that in our learning and in our space. Yeah, I think it's really important to acknowledge what came before.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, to share that.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Yeah,
And bringing cultures and from all over the world in sauna or tea, yeah, bringing it together and creating your own and acknowledging everything that's gone before and is happening in other parts of the world. Because
yeah,
it's all connection, it's community
yeah,
again, which is yeah, fundamental to everything that we're
yeah,
talking about.
yeah.
But yeah, yeah, it's really exciting. I can so excited to see where sauna culture in Scotland in particular goes
Mhm.
next. So yeah, we've there's so much happening at Granton. You're doing amazing stuff with the Edinburgh Fringe, and you've got so many amazing events. Yeah, what's tell me a bit more about what's happening there and what's next.
Um, so next, we have just done, are in the process of having a space at the Fringe on the Meadows Circus Hub. So it's the first time that Edinburgh Fringe have had a sauna involved, which has been a really great space to introduce so many people to sauna. A lot of people have come down. What is this? Oh, I've heard about saunas, but they've never seen one before, or they've never certainly not maybe looked inside or sat inside a wood-fired sauna. A lot of people have experienced electric saunas at the gym, so it's been really nice to have that kind of shop front, if you like. I mean, we have been a working sauna and people have been using it, but it's been really good experience just to be able to share the word of sauna with other people wherever they might be based. Um, and yeah, next for us, we are planning an event for October this year, um, which is a big step. So it's a wellness festival, wellness gathering. Yeah, so yeah, the festival is, it feels a really big thing to be doing, but it also feels really exciting. And it's going to be a gathering of lots of different facilitators that are based in or around Edinburgh, certainly local, that offer different things. Yoga or sound bath or movement practice. Um, Lots of saunas. So there's not just going to be our saunas there. We're bringing different saunas from around Scotland. I'm doing a bit of a showcase of them as well because the sauna space is so small, but also so well connected. And for me, this is a space where we can all share our skills and knowledge. So yeah, different sauna providers are going to come. We're going to do lots of different sauna rituals, everything that we've just talked about. Um, and it's just a nice opportunity to bring what in the past has been quite a southern London centric type of event into Scotland. So I'm a Scottish ambassador for the British Sauna Society. So we've got some of their members that will be coming up to speak. We've got a really amazing panel actually to talk about sauna cultures, both from we've got the International Bath Academy coming from Lithuania, and we have Laura who's coming from the Sauna Heritage Centre in Finland, just to talk about where the culture began with them and their story and how they are bringing it back. Because even in their own countries, it's kind of been uh, stretched. The knowledge has lessened over the years, so they're bringing that back. So they're coming to talk about their experience of that. Um, and it's really about what we want to celebrate is the kind of grounding, the embodiment that all of our skills offer people, and the connection with nature. Um, and it's just going to be such a blissed out, relaxed, connected, community minded and embodied day. I can't think of a better way that I want to spend any day. It happens to be my friend's birthday and she's so grateful. Yeah, I think it's gonna be really exciting. Really exciting.
Yeah, oh, it sounds incredible. And yeah, I'm lucky enough we are in the process of blending a tea which works for Dookers and sauna goers alike. So yes, we're aiming to launch it on that day as well, which is super exciting.
Yeah, I think that it's so nice that, you know, the the links between our businesses are so similar, our aim. And, there's authors that are coming to speak about sea swimming and being in nature. And there's yourself, which, you know, for me, that kind of the cup of tea in any of our experiences, whether that be yoga or sauna or, you know, forest bathing, the tea or the having your hands around that hot drink is so important. Um, yeah. So yeah, there's so many reasons for it all to be intertwined. Yeah, it's gonna be
It's going to be
great.
amazing.
It is.
So
It
you've
is.
got so much happening. Do you have a vision for 5 years' time, or are you just going for the next month?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
It is something that we are looking at actually. So when I was saying earlier about writing out the job roles and where um, we need help in the business, that is actually something that we're starting to work on more of a 5 year plan as opposed to just going, what's happening tomorrow?
Mhm.
Um, so we'll see. We'll see where
Well,
we end up. There's
5 year
lots
plans
of,
and yeah. In
yeah,
this
and I
world,
think
they're very hard to do. Things change
yeah,
so
things
fast.
change. And I think that that's really important. Actually, being the size we are, allows us to be nimble and move with where our interests lie or our community interests lies. Because that's really important to me as well. Like if I can have an idea that something that's going to be amazing in my mind, and when I speak to the different hosts or speak to my sauna community, they might not think that it's so great. And it's really important to listen to that feedback, and to pivot with it. Um, so yeah, I think we'll see. We'll see where we end up. But I think there's definitely more growth. My husband might not like that idea. But yeah, also there's more growth in the team that needs to happen, which is something that is really exciting because it means that there's more new ideas that will come on board, and that will help us get to an even better place than what we are now. So yeah.
Incredible. Well, I can't wait to see what you and your business do next. And I can't wait to get in the sauna again and to take part in the festival. And I just think what you're doing is incredible. And it's kind of, there's strings of it throughout your whole life from everything that we've talked about. And I love the idea that I had never heard of these, what is it, sweat tents in Scotland. I think it's
Oh,
incredible.
sweat houses, yeah.
Sweat houses, yeah. Sweat
Mhm.
houses in Scotland. It's incredible that you are now bringing that culture back to Scotland at a time when I think it's really, really needed, especially as we get more individualized and we're more isolated than ever before. Mental
Mhm.
well-being, people are struggling with that a lot as well. So everything that you're doing, bringing connection is the key to everything, I think. And sauna is the absolute key to building that and to building community. And I think you've just sparked so many things that you probably will never know just the extent of all the connections that the positives things that have happened from all the connections that you've built. So yeah, it's amazing, and I love what you do. I wonder if you could leave our listeners with just one top tip if they've got a little minute while they're maybe brewing their tea today. What one thing would you encourage people to do to take part while they're just having their little pause today? If they obviously
Yeah.
sauna would be number one, but
Yeah.
what would be number two?
You'd struggle for 3 minutes, but you could book one. No, I would say get in nature. So if you can't go outside and get your feet on the grass and your toes in the mud, um, look out the window, open the window, smell the fresh air, and just feel connected in something that is bigger than us. Nature is all around us, and it makes you feel so good being able to view it and be part of it. So yeah,
Brilliant. I'm
can.
going to do that now, brew a cup of tea and go for a walk on the beach
Yeah,
and a paddle.
nice.
Excellent. Great. Well, thank you so much for coming on the
Thank
Team Mind
you.
podcast. And yeah, I've just loved talking to you. And I'm sure we'll have many more conversations and sauna and tea in the future.
Yep.
So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I'll see you on the bench.
See you on the bench.
Bye.
Thanks for sharing this cup of calm with me. As you move through your day, take the tea mind with you. Pause when you can, breathe, and be kind to yourself. And please follow the Tea Mind to get new episodes as they land on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, stay present, sip slowly, and thanks for listening.